Hey NFL fans, before we dive into today's hottest stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. From NFL News Now, when you look at the Dallas Cowboys right now, it feels like one of those moments in the season where reality starts to hit harder than any blitz. A defense can send, because this is a team standing on the edge, staring at playoff elimination, knowing that hope is technically alive but hanging by the thinnest possible thread as Week 16 arrives. The Cowboys are clinging to a playoff probability so small it barely registers, sitting at 1%, and that number alone tells a story of missed opportunities, late collapses, and a season that never quite found its rhythm when it mattered most. For Dallas to even sniff the postseason, they would need to pull off a perfect finish, winning their final 3 games, while at the same time watching their bitter rivals in Philadelphia completely unravel and lose their final 3 as well. It is the kind of scenario fans talk about with nervous laughter, knowing it sounds more like a fantasy than a realistic expectation, but in the NFL, belief is often the last thing to die. Against that backdrop, any piece of news surrounding a star player becomes magnified. And that is exactly what happened when wide receiver CeeDee Lamb did not take the practice field. In the middle of the week, Lamb, the heartbeat of the Cowboys' offense, was sidelined with an illness. And his absence immediately raised eyebrows because this is not just another receiver on the depth chart. This is the player defense's game plan around. The one Dak Prescott looks for when the pocket collapses and the play breaks down. Missing practice on Wednesday already had fans uneasy, and when he missed again the following day, concerns started to turn into genuine worry about what this could mean for a team that can barely afford to lose any more firepower. What made the situation a little more nuanced, however, was the fact that even though Lamb was not physically practicing, he was far from disconnected. The Cowboys made it clear that he was present and involved in position meetings and full team meetings ahead of their upcoming matchup against the Los Angeles Chargers. That detail matters, because it shows a player who understands the gravity of the moment and refuses to check out mentally, even when his body is not quite cooperating. Being in those meetings means he is staying sharp, absorbing the game plan, understanding how the Chargers' defense wants to attack, and making sure that if he is able to suit up, there will be no mental rust to shake off. The official word from the team painted a clear picture of cautious monitoring rather than panic. Lamb, dealing with the illness, was not on the practice field for the second straight day, but he remained engaged in meetings, while cornerback Darren Bland was also absent for a second straight day due to a foot issue. For Dallas, this is that delicate balance between urgency and patience. The season is slipping away, but rushing a player back or pushing through something that could worsen is a risk that carries long-term consequences, not just for this year, but for the future of the franchise. As the Cowboys prepare for this Week 16 clash, the opponent only adds to the tension. They are facing one of the top teams in the AFC, a squad that is positioning itself as a legitimate conference title contender, which means Dallas is not just battling its own circumstances, but also a powerhouse across the field that has plenty to play for. This is not a forgiving matchup where you can hide weaknesses or survive without your stars at full strength. Every snap, every route, every contested catch will matter. And that is why the availability of CeeDee Lamb looms so large over everything the Cowboys are trying to accomplish. Looking at where Dallas stands in the standings only reinforces how fragile this moment is. Entering Week 16 with a 6-7-1 record, the Cowboys are coming off the straight losses that drained much of the momentum they desperately needed. Those losses were not just defeats on paper, they were emotional blows, the kind that test locker room belief and challenge leadership. When a team starts slipping like that, stars are often the ones who have to stabilize everything. And Lamb has been that stabilizing force all season long whenever he has been healthy enough to take the field, and that is where the bigger story of CeeDee Lamb's season comes into focus. This illness is just the latest hurdle in what has been a physically demanding year for him. Earlier in the season, he dealt with a concussion, an injury that always brings added caution and scrutiny, followed by an ankle issue that forced him to miss additional time each time. Lamb fought his way back, reinserted himself into the offense, and reminded everyone why he is considered one of the elite wide receivers in the league. Playing through various ailments is part of the job at this level, but there comes a point where the accumulation starts to take a toll, and managing that wear and tear becomes as important as any play call. There is also a symbolic element to Lamb being present in meetings even while sidelined physically. It sends a message to his teammates that he is still locked in, still leading, still invested in trying to pull off what would be one of the most improbable late-season runs in recent memory. For younger players, seeing a star handle adversity like that can be motivating, and for veterans, it reinforces the idea that nobody is giving up, even if the odds are stacked against them. As the week progresses, all eyes will remain on Lamb's status, because his presence or absence could swing the entire complexion of the game. With him on the field, the Cowboys' offense has a chance to be explosive, to stretch the defense, and to keep pace with a high-caliber opponent. Without him, the margin for error shrinks dramatically and everything becomes harder. From converting third downs to finishing drives in the red zone, the coaching staff will have to be creative, the quarterback will have to be nearly flawless, and other receivers will need to step up in ways they have not consistently done this season. Ultimately, this moment captures the essence of where the Dallas Cowboys are right now. They are a team fighting against the math, fighting against injuries, fighting against momentum, and fighting against a schedule that offers no easy outs. CeeDee Lamb's illness is not just a medical note on a practice report. It is a symbol of how fragile and complicated this late-season push has become. Whether he takes the field or not, his involvement, his leadership, and his determination reflect a team that refuses to officially concede, even when the path forward looks almost impossibly narrow. And in a league defined by drama and unexpected twists, that refusal to quit is sometimes the only thing keeping hope alive. However small that hope may be, keep watching as we analyze more details about some rumors. When the cameras turn on and the microphone gets close, you can almost feel that something heavy is floating in the air around the Cowboys. And this time it is not about play calling, schemes, or even injuries. The whispers coming out of the locker room suggest a line has been crossed. And the name at the center of this storm is Brian Schottenheimer. According to the rumor mill that never sleeps in this league, the Cowboys coach decided to draw a hard line and make an example. That echoes far beyond one practice or one meeting. A starter, a player everyone is used to seeing on the field as a given, was reportedly pushed aside because discipline, respect, and commitment were put into question. And when Schottenheimer makes a move like that, people inside the organization know it is not a coincidence or a moment of emotional impulse. It is a message carefully chosen and loudly delivered. The story being told behind closed doors is that this situation had been brewing quietly, like a pot left on the stove just a bit too long. Small signs, subtle behaviors, moments that raised eyebrows but did not yet spark action, missed responsibilities, questionable attitude, perhaps a sense that individual priorities were starting to outweigh the collective mission. In a franchise like the Cowboys, where the spotlight is relentless and every detail is magnified, those things rarely stay hidden for long. Schottenheimer, known for his calm but firm demeanor, is said to have watched patiently, measuring not only performance but behavior, until he reached the conclusion that enough was enough. This was not about talent, because talent was never in doubt. This was about standards. What makes this rumor even louder is the fact that the player involved was a starter, someone whose name is usually written in ink, not pencil, in a league where stars often receive longer leashes. The idea that a coach would bench a key piece strictly for indiscipline sends shockwaves. The message is clear, at least according to the chatter. No one is bigger than the locker room. No one is above the culture being built. Schottenheimer's alleged decision feels less like punishment and more like a statement of identity. He is reportedly telling his team, without saying a word publicly, that professionalism is non-negotiable, and that preparation and respect matter just as much as athletic ability inside the building. The reaction is said to be mixed but intense. Some players, especially veterans who have seen teams crumble due to lack of accountability, are rumored to quietly support the move. They understand that discipline is the glue that holds a long season together, and they know how quickly distractions can derail focus. Others, particularly younger players, are said to be shocked, perhaps even unsettled, realizing that the safety net they assumed existed might not be there after all. That sense of discomfort, according to some insiders, might actually be part of Schottenheimer's plan. Comfort breeds complacency, and complacency has no place in a team that wants to be taken seriously from the outside. Fans are doing what fans always do, speculating wildly and filling social media with theories, half-truths, and emotional reactions. Some see Schottenheimer as a hardliner, a coach willing to risk short-term turbulence to establish long-term credibility. Others worry that moves like this could fracture chemistry or create unnecessary drama. But in the corridors of the organization, the belief seems to be that allowing indiscipline to slide would be far more damaging. The Cowboys, after all, live under a microscope, and every internal issue eventually becomes external noise. By acting decisively, Schottenheimer may be trying to control the narrative before it controls him. There is also a deeper layer to this rumor, one that touches on leadership and legacy. Schottenheimer is not just coaching plays. He is shaping an environment. Coaches around the league often talk about culture, but few are willing to enforce it when enforcement costs them something tangible. Benching a starter does exactly that. It risks criticism, second-guessing, and internal tension. Yet, according to those close to the situation, Schottenheimer believes that allowing standards to slip would cost far more in the long run. In his mind, discipline is not a punishment, it is a foundation. Without it, talent becomes unreliable and potential remains unrealized. The player at the center of this storm has reportedly kept a low profile since the decision, fueling even more speculation. Silence in a situation like this can mean many things. It can mean reflection, frustration, disagreement, or quiet acceptance. Teammates are said to be watching closely, reading body language, listening to tone, trying to understand how this will play out. Will this become a turning point, a lesson that brings renewed focus and humility, or will it linger as a source of tension? No one outside the inner circle truly knows. But the fact that the conversation is happening at all tells you how significant this moment feels for Schottenheimer. This rumored move could define how he is perceived moving forward. Coaches often talk about accountability, but reputations are built on actions, not words. By reportedly refusing to forgive indiscipline simply because of status, he is carving out an image of fairness and firmness. Players may not like it in the moment, but many understand it over time. The league is full of stories where unchecked behavior slowly eroded trust, unity, and ultimately performance. This feels like an attempt to avoid that fate before it takes root. As the speculation continues to swirl, one thing seems certain in the eyes of those following closely: the Cowboys' locker room has been reminded that standards exist for a reason. Whether this decision becomes a footnote or a defining chapter will depend on how everyone involved responds. Will the bench starter come back sharper, more focused, and more aligned with the team's expectations, turning this rumor into a story of growth and redemption? Or will this be remembered as the moment when tension surfaced and lines were drawn? For now, all we have are whispers, informed guesses, and the undeniable sense that Brian Schottenheimer has made it clear he is not willing to compromise on discipline, no matter the name on the jersey. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video and share it with your fellow NFL fans. Stay tuned for more updates only here on NFL News Now.